And we are live. Welcome, friends. CFLW, the show for this Friday, April the 25th. I hope you are doing well. Apologize for the slight delay. Life gets in the way sometimes. Great to see you here. Coming up in this live stream, we're going to be talking about the desperate need for some rain here in Central Florida. We're going to get ready for some exceptionally hot weather again for our weekend, and I am going to dive into when I do expect us to have the next chance for some showers and even some storms in the area. It's great to see you, friends, on this Friday afternoon. As always, CFLW, the show, is sponsored by the lean law firm of Central Florida. You see their logo right below me here. They are hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. They cover the entire state. Anything that can impact you or your property, so think hail damage, hurricane damage, you've been in an auto accident. They'll walk you through every step of the insurance claim process, offering free consultation and policy reviews. We never like to think about it, but when it happens in our lives, you want to advocate on your side, and leanonmelaw.com can help you there. Go to Bobby Lean and the team. Good to see you guys. Again, things are going well. Hope you are doing well. Let me know in the comment section below what's been happening. If you have a specific question about the forecast, drop that down as well. Happy to answer that while you're down there. Thank you so much for liking this live stream. And we're going to get into it. Friends, temperatures continue to climb very quickly across Central Florida on this Friday afternoon. We're seeing a few clouds moving in right now with our East Coast sea breeze. And again, certain times of the year, that East Coast sea breeze would spell a very high opportunity for rain. Not the case here on this late April Friday afternoon, but it will keep the temperatures along the East Coast relatively cooler than what we're going to see in central and inland western areas as well. Right along the Gulf Coast, it'll be cooler, but you can clearly see the disparity of temperatures right now. Palm Bay in at 81 degrees. Towards Zephyr Hills right now, they're in at 88. We are going to get some lower 90s in our western zones for today. Portions of inland, Citrus, Hernando, Pasco, Pinellas, Hillsborough, Polk, maybe even up towards Marion County. It's not out of the question that Ocala tries to make a run at 90 degrees, but exceptionally hot weather in this area right now. Again, downtown Tampa coming in at 86 degrees right now. Their winds are going to be fairly light. They're going to mainly be out of the east. That's what we're going to have for today. Orlando, 82 in downtown, 84 at MCO. Not a bad day in Brevard County as well here towards Satellite Beach and the Space Force Station there, about 84. Same thing for the Cape. Beautiful 81 degrees right now in Titusville. You want the cooler air, guys. You got to get out east for today. St. Augustine coming in at 79. Again, beautiful afternoon, so you know what that means. We got to take a live look at our cameras right now. Let me bring those up for you. We'll start off with our Conway cam. Live look, again, these are live cameras across Central Florida. You're taking a look just to the southeast of downtown Orlando. A few fair weather, fairly flat clouds kind of moving across the area. You know, a little bit of a breeze from time to time. The winds will freshen up a bit along the coastline, but, you know, there'll be pulses of wind outside for today in other areas, but it's not going to, you know, don't shock yourself if you're outside and you don't feel much of a breeze until later in the day, where we might pick up a little bit more of a gentle wind as we get a little bit closer to sunset. Gorgeous shot from Winter Garden, western sides of Orange County. Again, this camera is looking off towards the west. Just a few beautiful clouds in the sky right now, but again, dominated by the sun and the heat. That will continue to be the story over the next couple of days, guys. This is going to be a very common sight. Again, outdoor plans are a go if you're willing to battle the heat that we've been seeing. By the way, we did break a few records in western areas earlier in the week, as we discussed, as daytime highs in some areas got to 93, 94 degrees. The interesting thing is I went back and looked at the almanac from the Tampa National Weather Service office, and they're actually missing data for Monday and Tuesday, so can't verify everything, but I know we got up to 93, 94. Hi, Linda. You know, I'm doing pretty well. How are you on this Friday? Got any weekend plans? You got anything going on? We've got, my youngest son has a soccer game tomorrow, and even though we get there at 11 o'clock and it goes until I think 12:30, I'm not looking forward to what the temperature is going to be like even at that time tomorrow. It is summer-like across Central Florida. So that's what I've got going on this weekend. And then Sunday, you know, might want to either try and find the pool or just stay indoors. There's some exceptional heat coming, guys. And obviously that's not helping the drought condition, and that's not helping the wildfire threat across Central Florida. We talked about that in Monday's show. It wouldn't get any better this week, and it simply has not as well. Little bit of cloud coverage here from Lake Buena Vista. Again, this camera is just 1 mile to the north and to the west of the Disney property. So we're looking back towards the Magic Kingdom from this camera. And again, beautiful day. As you can see, by the way, on our lower third graphic, we've got live updating conditions across Central Florida. So you can find where you live or the closest larger city, and you get a really good idea. Notice again, along the East Coast, we will have a little bit of cloud coverage from time to time. All right, so we'll get back over to the weather computer here after taking a look at our live cameras across Central Florida. Get back to this full screen here on my system, and we'll be moving along. Let's talk about the wind gusts real quick. I mentioned those, so let's bring up what the current wind gusts are right now. Again, there's going to be some 15, 20 mile an hour breezes. Yeah, from time to time. Sanford even hit a 28 mile an hour wind a little bit earlier in the day. I'm actually a little surprised it was that high. I think in general, the rest of the afternoon hours, it'll be an east to a southeast wind at around 15 to 20 miles an hour at most. Those would be gusts. The sustained winds will be more of around 10 miles an hour. But again, all of the winds right now are going to be out of the east to southeast, right? So that will continue to provide us, you know, again, with cooler conditions along the East Coast, warmer conditions inland and out towards the west coast, right? Even a little bit of a northeast component to the breeze down in our southern zones, but we continue to be dry. Water vapor imagery. This is a satellite presentation of the moisture in the atmosphere. Reds indicate drier air, greens indicate moisture-laden air. We're still stuck with a lot of red, both west and east of us. We are trying to buck that trend with a very large, powerful storm system to our north. We've had crazy severe weather in portions of the plains the last couple of days. It is so dry, Linda. It's everyone. We'll take a look at the new drought monitor, and it's not great. It's not great at all, as a matter of fact, but we're going to try and at least pull some moisture in early in the week. I mentioned in Monday's show, I thought the next chance for rain could be Sunday. For today's show, I think the next chance for rain is Monday. So I don't think we're going to have any rain over the weekend, maybe a shower in the evening hours, but we're going to try and get a little bit better opportunity as we get a little bit farther along. That's the water vapor presentation, just to show you the amount of moisture in the atmosphere. This is the rain and storms right now. Pretty good amount of lightning coming through. If you haven't seen some of the video, there's been numerous large wedge tornadoes in portions of the panhandle of Texas the last couple of days, and they've had over 5-inch size hail in a couple of spots. 4-inch size hail is softballs. Okay, so can you imagine a 5-inch size hail landing on your car? Obviously, those are very isolated sizes when you're talking about that, mainly golf ball to baseball, which is destructive enough, right? But I mean, you're talking about multiple rounds of severe storms for the plains, and now it's ejecting some of that energy off towards the east. So that's what we're seeing out there as far as that goes. I'll bring on the enhanced satellite imagery here. Let's take a look at that. And again, you can see some of the higher cloud tops associated with this. So what we're going to try and do, you know, and when I say we are going to try and do, is we hope Mother Nature pulls in some of this moisture from the northern Gulf Coast and swings it into our area. But again, this time of the year, we really struggle with cold fronts getting all the way cleanly through Central Florida. This can really be the dry part of the year, late April and into May, if we don't get the classic sea breeze storms to develop. We're getting sea breezes to move in. Yeah, absolutely. Just wow, Linda. It's unbelievable stuff there. Tracking very clear to see tornadoes because they're low precipitation thunderstorms. So there's, you know, very clear bases to them. And then the hail just, you know, getting pounded. Some of those guys, they do it on purpose. They get into the hail cores because they do it for views and whatever. But man, it is amazing stuff there. These are the wind gusts across the area, and you can just see there's a lot of wind energy. Just everything's going to try and pull a little bit farther into our area here. Now, the risk for severe storms for today is back in those same areas, and it still doesn't shock me. The Storm Prediction Center actually only had a marginal risk in this area yesterday. Then this morning they went to a slight risk, which is 2 out of 5. And then just a little bit ago, they upgraded it to enhanced risk again, which is 3 out of 5. And it's the same situation along what they call the dry line. Thunderstorms going to be developing and pushing east, but mainly staying in the panhandle of Texas, maybe into southwest sides of Oklahoma. But you can clearly see there's a huge swath of generalized thunderstorm activity forecast for most of the eastern half of the United States. Where are we, right? Where's our thunderstorms? So the problem with this, guys, is now when we take a look at the drought monitor, and by the way, let's go to our friends in the National Weather Service in Melbourne. Pull those guys up here real quick. We can take a look at some of the drought problems. So here's the deal. We don't want to see these reds. That is no good whatsoever, okay? The reds are the extreme drought. There is an exceptional drought, a maroon category, which is even higher than the extreme. But now we actually have an extreme drought in portions of our area. It's going to include places like the Villages and Lake Pan, towards Coleman, up towards Leesburg, east of Bellevue, so a lot of the Ocala National Forest, and then Volusia County, from DeLand and De Leon Springs and Lake Helen, just north of Orange City, to the coastline, South Daytona, Port Orange, Ponce Inlet, New Smyrna Beach, Wilbur by the Sea, places like that, considered to be under an extreme drought. Daytona Beach has had about 40% of the rain that they should have had since the beginning of the year. They normally should get about 10.5 inches of rain. So far, they've had 4.17 inches, okay? Sanford is not much better. They've had 4 inches of rain. They should have 8.5, 8.3. So extreme drought in red. We have the severe drought in orange, which is, you know, portions of Orange and all of Seminole, all of Volusia County that's not seeing the extreme drought. Southern Flagler, a lot of Marion, northern sides of Lake, Sumter, portions of Citrus, Hernando, into Pasco counties. And then you have the browns, which are your moderate drought. And that includes places like Orlando and the I-4 corridor west of there. A lot of Volusia County as well. Titusville is even actually in that severe drought. And then you have the abnormally dry. Remember, there were some areas of Central Florida that weren't even abnormally dry as of Monday, but that has changed. Now, everyone is at least abnormally dry, but a lot of us are deep into a drought that does not look to get better anytime soon. So again, the wildfire threat, exceptionally high. Just the risk of things burning with such dry, tender vegetation, it's a problem. Orlando International, the official reporting station in Orlando, has had 4 inches of rain since January 1st. They should have 9.5. All right, Leesburg, 3.3. They should have 9.4. So you're talking about a third to 40+% at best, the rain that we should have here in Central Florida. Melbourne is one of the areas that's slightly better, but still not great. They've had 5.16. They should have right around 9. So they've had about 60% of the rain there in portions of Brevard County. And that's the best that we can do. So this drought is a huge, huge problem for us here in Central Florida, all right? And currently, you know, dew points are in the 60s. Relative humidity is not horribly dry, 35, 40% in most spots. Again, you know, as temperatures warm in the afternoon, these dew point numbers get lower and lower, which is why your fire threat gets higher in the afternoon hours, and the wind picks up as well. It's all bad news in the afternoon hours. Hottest conditions, lowest relative humidity, strongest winds for the most part. So, you know, our relative humidity right now is in the 40s to 50s along the coast. It's not crazy bad. We don't want it to get to 30 to 35%. Those are when you start to have the problems as far as getting, really bad fire conditions here in the area. Oh boy, I just closed the YouTube channel. My bad. I've got this touchscreen tablet here, which is fantastic, but I literally am using my finger. And though I don't have fat fingers, I can still fat finger a graphic from time to time. Hi, Linda, how you doing? Happy Friday, by the way. Coming back into the chat now. The fires of 98. I don't particularly remember those. I lived in Florida until May of 98 before I actually moved off for my first television job. So I don't recollect those. Not that long ago, I want to say I mean, it was certainly the time that I was back in Orlando since 2013. I could have been like 14, 15, if anyone remembers. We had a really bad fire season, like deep into June. It was really, really bad. So there was one, even in more recent memory, that was pretty bad. But we've got to try and, get some more rain into the area and just be very cautious. Now, the only advisory currently into play right now is a rip current statement along the East Coast. It comes into play because it's going to be so darn hot. People are going to be trying to get to the beaches here. So I just want to highlight this, that there is a rip current risk for our coastal sections through Saturday night. Rip current risks are going to be an issue. I have seen video of some rescues, so it's already been ongoing. But if you're going to the beaches or you know anyone who is, please be very cautious of the rip currents. Please always check in with the lifeguards. Things change so quickly along our coastline when it comes to rip currents that it can be an issue that can change very frequently, even in just one day. All right. Okay, so let's get into how we try and break this dry streak, which again, by the way, is not going to be broken anytime soon. This enhanced satellite imagery, right? You don't even see any hardly clouds in the sky here as well. I was living in DeLand probably at the time. It was horrible. I hope, Linda, we don't have to draw a lot of comparisons to 98 if it was that bad. We're not there yet, but we don't want a lot of May to continue to be as dry as it has been. All right, let's go out to a little bit broader view here. I'm going to bring on the GFS model. Now, the reason why I'm bringing on the GFS and not the HER is our very high resolution model, but it only goes out 48 hours, right? I mean, that's not just me, that's how the domain of the model. 25th, 26th, 27th, 20th, let's go out to the 29th. So our GFS model gets us out a lot farther in time. It's not as high res, but it will do the job, right? Because we're not going to gain any rain by Sunday morning, which is as far as the HER model is going to take us out. So let's see if we can try and get some showers and maybe even an isolated storm in here on Monday, right? Yep, DeLand, gotcha. I do want to point out that with this easterly breeze along the coast over the weekend, I've seen the models try and do this a little bit here. I'm just going to bring it back to the beginning. Just a little bit of moisture pushing towards the coast. I think it's just cloud coverage. I don't think there's enough lift in the atmosphere to provide some rain, but could there be a brief sprinkle or a light shower along the I-95 corridor? It's possible, but you can clearly see here that as we get into what is now Monday morning, the 28th, that we're still basically dry. Here's our opportunity. Widely scattered showers and isolated storms Monday afternoon, maybe persisting into early on Tuesday. And there you go. And that's about it. Unfortunately, I think we dry out after that again for a bit. So is there a lot of optimism for rain that's going to really help things out? No. Is there at least the opportunity to get some showers into the forecast? You got to start somewhere, right? Yeah, Monday, early Tuesday, right? I've seen some of the models that actually try and bring in a little bit of rain earlier on Monday, but for the most part, the models hold this off into the afternoon hours. We get the heat of the day. We get, by the way, I'm just going to zoom out here. We get just a little chunk of this to come down south. A lot of it stays well to our north, right? You're going to see all of this energy kick right up through the Tennessee Valley and into the Northeast, okay? And we kind of get just the scraps. But this pattern will continue. And what I'm hoping for is that we eventually start to push this energy and moisture a little bit farther to the south. Right now, there's a big dome of high pressure off towards our east, which is kind of preventing that from happening. So we need to erode that dome. We need to get it out farther east, or just kind of erode it on the western side and allow some of this instability and moisture to slip back into the area. But for the most part, not a ton here, guys. So let's break down Monday. I'm going to zoom in real nice and tight here. Here's Monday, the wee hours of Monday morning. Again, an isolated shower is possible. Best chance is going to be in the afternoon hours, all right? And obviously, I'll see you guys at Monday at 1 o'clock for CFLW, the show for Monday. we will be right on the precipice, I think, of whatever is going to be moving in. There is certainly the opportunity that on Monday at 1 o'clock, we'll have a little bit of rain and a few storms in the area to track and talk about. Could be just a little bit after that. Now, we'll look at the potential for severe weather coming up, but let me go back to that. I didn't want to step it that far out. Let's see here. All right, so get it back to where I was. Again, best chance is going to be mid to late afternoon. Not everyone is going to see the rain. The chance overall is about 30 to 40%. As we lose the heat of the day, we'll see these showers and isolated storms fall apart. We could still have a little bit of rain along the East Coast overnight into Tuesday morning, and then that fades away. All right. On Monday's show, we'll obviously talk about the next chance for rain, but unfortunately, this is not going to be kind of a multi-day event. I mean, you could consider Monday into early Tuesday multi-day if you'd like, but we're not talking about multiple rounds of heavy showers and storms. We're talking about getting one shot in here Monday and into early on Tuesday, and that's about it. I'm with you, Linda. That's the thing. You're going to take whatever we can get right now. It's as simple as that. There could be some pockets of heavier rain, but I'm telling you, the more than likely, they're going to be really concentrated, really isolated. So if you get one of those heavier showers on Monday, consider yourselves extremely, extremely lucky because your neighbors might not. A lot of us probably won't. All right. Now, severe weather risk. Here's the risk for tomorrow. Again, they start off with a marginal 1 out of 5, and more than likely for the Panhandle of Texas, by tomorrow, it's up to an enhanced or a 3 out of 5, right? But just generalized thunderstorms east of there. Again, the dark green is the actual severe weather risk. Your lighter green is just the general thunderstorm probability. And then for Sunday, right, it does try and bring in a generalized risk. But as I've been mentioning, the models have been trying to hold this off until Monday. So at this point in time, I actually don't agree with the SPC putting in a generalized risk for a few storms on Sunday, right? That's the day 3 risk. If we look at the day 4 risk, you're going to notice that it's farther north, right? So on Monday, when I think the best chance to get a few storms in here will occur, we shouldn't have a risk for severe weather. There's always an opportunity for an isolated storm to go strong to severe, and I'll be monitoring that, of course, but this is not going to be a very potent system in our area. We'll just hopefully get the rain and be lucky that we got that, right? And more than likely avoid having to see any actual severe weather to talk about. But if that's the case, you know, our guys got you covered. Okay, let's break down the forecast. We'll start off in Orlando. Again, I'm not forecasting any rain in the area for Sunday as of now. I mentioned there could be an isolated shower late in the day, but I just don't think right now it's fast enough to get in here. And we got to really kind of overcome some drier air to do so. It's going to take some time. Look at these temperatures, guys. This is early summer, baking into midsummer, and it's late April. If you are going to be outdoors for the weekend, again, the weather's going to cooperate if you can tolerate the heat. But please take the hot weather precautions, and I really do mean that. You're going to want to find the shade in the afternoon hours. You're going to want to avoid direct sun exposure in those mid-afternoon hours if you can. Make sure you cover up. Grab the umbrella. Throw on a lot of sunscreen. Find the pool. Find the beach. Something to cool you off. It's hot. Bottom line, and it's going to be dry. 91 tomorrow in Orlando. 93 on Sunday. Here's our chance for the rain and storms. A 40% chance for mainly afternoon showers and storms in the Atlanta metro area. That's going to include places like Kissimmee, St. Cloud, over towards Sanford, and Apopka, Oviedo as well. 40% chance for storms, the high falling as the clouds build into a lovely 88 degrees. By the way, a ton of humidity to go along for the ride. It's even hotter in Tampa for the weekend. 92 and then 93 on Sunday, right? Generally speaking, the farther south that you go, slightly lower chance for a few storms on Monday. So it's just a 30% chance in Tampa, but we hope we get, again, pick up a little bit of rain and a little bit of storm activity there. 91, the daytime high. So 3 more days in a row here in Tampa of going above 90. More than likely, they will be, hitting 90 again today as well. I hear you, Linda. Got to find something to watch indoors if you don't want to tolerate this heat. But look, we know this is coming, right? This is summer. It's just late April. Now, at least it cools off a little bit behind the front, right? Typically in the summertime, that doesn't happen. But you want to talk about outrageous heat. Let me take you to the Villages. I'm not even done with the hottest weather yet. Could these break records? Up in the Villages, certainly possible. Leesburg as an official reporting station. Ocala as an official reporting station. Inverness, places like that could. Okay? My friends in the Villages, if you are going to be doing some golfing this weekend, playing tennis, pickleball, outdoors, and I am talking about the elderly, right? Big segment of our population, more prone to heat-related illnesses. They're very young, they're very old. That's just how it is. So, for my friends in the Villages, very, very hot. Now, the mornings, right around daybreak, will be fine. Again, dry air, huge temperature spreads. More than a 30-degree temperature spread from morning low to afternoon high in the Villages over the weekend. 62 the morning low, tomorrow morning, 93 the daytime high. But blazing hot on Sunday. 63 the morning low, 95 the daytime high in the Villages. And the reason why we can get so hot is because the air is dry. Drier air warms faster. Think of the deserts. Very dry air. Desert regions have tremendous variations from morning lows to afternoon highs, sometimes easily by 60 degrees. And it's because there's very limited moisture in the atmosphere. So the lower levels of the atmosphere warm up like that. You know, we stay in the lower 90s for a lot of times in the summertime because our humidity values are so high, right? You know, the dew points are so high, our relative humidity values are running exceptionally high. We can't really cram much more moisture in the atmosphere than what we've got, so the temperature can't climb much more than what it does. But when the air is dry like this, you can get these kinds of temperatures even in late April. And here you go. 40% chance to try and cool things off in the Villages, Marion County, Lake Pan, Bellevue, Silver Springs, 4 afternoon hours of Monday, 91 still the daytime high. Pretty darn rough. Okay. Who gets a little bit better weather for the weekend? I've already mentioned them. It's our friends along the East Coast. And it is a big, stark disparity in temperatures, right? 93 tomorrow in the Villages. 82 in Daytona Beach. 95 Sunday in the Villages. 85 in Daytona Beach. East wind, east wind, east wind. We tap into the relatively cooler waters of the Atlantic. We get a little bit of cloud coverage, and it's much more tolerable along our East Coast. And this does go from Jacksonville all the way down to Miami. We'll all have an east wind. So if you are visiting I-95 and you can get yourself to the coast, this is the best weather, right? It's actually going to be comfortable. It's going to be nice on the area beaches. We mentioned the rip current risk if you're just tuning in, by the way. There is a rip current risk, so if for some reason you want to get the family to the beaches, just keep in mind that's the issue. But mostly sunny and comfortable. 82 the daytime high. 85 on Sunday, and then actually even cooler on Monday with a northeast wind as that weak system moves in. A 30% chance for scattered showers and an isolated storm. And again, the high on Monday of 81. But what a stark contrast from the Villages to Daytona Beach. But it happens this time of the year. Great to see those who have just tuned in. Thanks for joining me here at CFLW, the show for this Friday. Do me a quick favor, hit that like button right now. It helps support the channel. It's a very simple thing to do, but it creates interaction. And that is something that the YouTube algorithm loves. So I appreciate you guys doing that. I love to have interaction with you guys. I really appreciate both Lindas today jumping on this chat and interacting with me. It's why I do this. If you have a specific question about the forecast, drop it in the comments. I appreciate those who watch the live version. Of course, you can watch the recorded version of this on the CFLW YouTube channel. It gets archived under the live tab, each and every one of these shows. And if you have a specific question, even watching the recorded version, you can ask me and I go back and I'll answer those questions. So I appreciate that for you guys as well. Okay, we'll go back over to our weather computer. A couple of other points that I want to make out here. We'll start with what the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook looks like. Okay, actually, we won't start with that. We're going to start with what is the rain totals from this system. I think that I need to touch on first. Well, here you go. This actually takes us out a couple more days. Early morning of the 30th. But it doesn't matter because beyond the Monday, early Tuesday timeframe, we're not going to get any more showers anyway. So what are our rain total opportunities? And again, let me be very clear about this. We're not going to more than likely see 8/10 of an inch in Deltona and 1/10 of an inch in the Villages. It'll probably be an average of this, but just to show you what the models are trying to bring, first of all, it's no more than an inch of rain in any one spot outside of the very localized convection, right? Outside of the very localized rain, which could produce a little bit more than that. But widespread areas of more than 1/4 to 1/2 inch are just not going to be much in the forecast. I hope we get some of that in Flagler and Volusia. Again, they are now under that extreme drought in Volusia County, in the eastern and northern sides of Lake County. That would be fantastic. Doesn't necessarily have to play out that way, but it just kind of gives you an idea that this is not going to be a widespread heavy rain event. There will be areas that don't get a drop. I hope it's not a lot of us. I hope most of us get a little bit of rain. But that opportunity to stay completely dry, unfortunately, is in the forecast as this comes through. Right now, the models are saying south and west are a little bit drier, and south and east are a little bit drier. So a little bit further north, slightly better chance for some rain. But that does not mean that Merritt Island won't get any rain, right? You know, the GFS model is not really painting on any, maybe, you know, 1/10 of an inch or a trace of rain. But again, more than anything, we look at kind of the broad, what this is telling us in a broad sense, right, is that the heavy rain is not going to be there, and most areas are going to have less than 1/2 inch. That's what the model's telling us. When we look at the temperatures from the 6 to 10 day time frame, so again, this doesn't include the first 5 days. You know, this is basically like what's going to be happening from midweek to next weekend. The temperatures aren't going anywhere but staying hot. Maybe we cool off a bit from the low to mid 90s that we're going to have the exceptional heat over the weekend in interior locations, but we're not getting back to normal. What this is telling you is what's the percentage that you are either cooler or hotter than your average temperature in the 6 to 10 day time frame. Gray means you have a equal chance of having a normal temperature, and then as we build through the oranges and reds, it means you have a higher than normal chance to be hotter than average. Converse that anywhere that you see blue, which by the way, for the United States is going to be the Eastern Great Lakes, and that's it. You would have a better chance to be cooler than average over the next 6 to 10 days. We got a lot of heat building in. Severe weather season in the plains, by the way, with all of this heat already getting going, is going to be gross. Linda says, with this going to heat the waters, maybe early tropical storms too. It's a component. There's no doubt about it, right? And sea surface temperatures have been running above normal, but that's nothing new over the last 5 to 10 years. But of course, it's fuel to the fire. Now, the heat inland isn't going to have as much of a factor. Larger scale weather features will play into that. But certainly, just heating things up in general, and coastal waters included, adds more fuel for storms to maintain themselves if they do develop, right? You got to have sea surface temperatures at or above 80 degrees Fahrenheit. We typically don't get to that until late May into early June. And hopefully that's still the case, except for the extreme coastal waters, the shallower areas. But yeah, as we get deeper into May, it's something we'll talk about. And it's a great point to bring up, Linda. It is a part of the equation. There's a whole, tropical soup that you have to mix correctly, if you will, to get, tropical systems, but sea surface temperatures and heat over the components. This is really why I wanted to bring up this graphic. At least there is a silver lining, if you will, to try and talk about all this heat in the 6 to 10 day time frame. So that is, again, mid next week through next weekend, basically. We actually have a slightly better chance to be wetter than drier, okay? Slightly better chance to be wetter. So on the horizon, as we push into early May, we might have a few chances to get a little bit better chance for some rain late next week, especially into next weekend and beyond. But that 6 to 10 day time frame, we'll take whatever little thread of hope we can go on. And at least we're not stuck in the brown, right? But this is what I'm talking about. You see all that wet weather out in the southern plains? That's all the severe storms. Ton of heat energy, still some colder air from the north, clashing of those storm systems. It's going to be, I think, a pretty rough May for those areas. The classic tornado alley. we're going to try and get a little bit of moisture and bring in some of those showers as well. Anyone have any questions? I appreciate Linda jumping on. Appreciate the other Linda saying hi as well. Again, I do appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll go back over to our current visible satellite imagery and our temperatures. If you're just tuning in right now, again, another very hot day is in store. We're warming up. Temperatures right now, we'll take a live look here. I'll let these loop up for a second. Oh, let's see here. I don't know why it does this sometimes. I have to click that. Let me bring back on our timeline. But again, there's your 90. So since we've been on CFLW, the show, we've hit our first 90-degree temperature here in inland Hillsborough County in Plant City. So Plant City is already 90. The Brandon area, Seffner is 88. Tampa is 86. 88 down towards Spring Hill. That's the heat. The cooler, and I'm going to use that term very loosely for today and the weekend, is the East Coast. The East Coast sea breeze, still dry, maybe a sprinkle, but some clouds, and just tapping into the relatively cooler waters of the coastal Atlantic will keep our I-95 corridor cooler while it gets exceptionally hot interior locations and out to the west. Again, my forecast high for the Villages Sunday is 95 degrees. If you didn't catch that earlier, jump back in. Oh, Linda, that is an extremely complicated question. I probably won't have time to delve into that now, and I would even have to do a little bit of research on my own. Geomagnetic storms, I mean, again, there's a lot to it, but they typically interfere with our electronics more than anything, our satellites and things like that. Could there be some impacts to weather? It's plausible. I would even have to do a little bit of homework to that. Let me table that question. And if I can remember, I'll write it down and I'll try and do a little bit of research myself. But typically when we talk about geomagnetic storms, we're talking about things that disrupt communications and satellites and internet, cell phones and stuff like that. But it's a good question, and I will endeavor to maybe have a little bit better answer for you here on Monday. But great question. Friends, I think I'm going to wrap up the show for now. I appreciate you guys. As always, CFLW, the show, is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. They offer free consultation and policy reviews. Anything that can impact you or your property, they're going to walk you through every step of the insurance claim process. Yes, I do ad-lib this, by the way. Bobby Lean gave me a script, and it was a great one. I've tried to memorize components of it and go through it. Here's the bottom line. They're fantastic people. We don't like to think about these things, but if that crops up in your life, you want to advocate on your side, you want to support someone who supports the channel, go to leanonmelaw.com. They're great folks there. Friends, I appreciate you guys. You're great folks. Thank you for supporting me in this endeavor as well. Again, out the door, thank you for liking this video. Thank you for subscribing to CFLW as well. Have a great, safe weekend. Stay away from the mid-outdoor hours there. Just try and go inside. It's going to feel like summertime across Central Florida. Otherwise, I will see you Monday at 1 o'clock for CFLW, the show. Then we'll hopefully be tracking some rain, either in our area or approaching our area, and then hopefully delve into a little bit better chance for some rain and storms throughout the rest of next week. You guys have a great, safe weekend, and I'll see you back here on Monday. Until then, take care.